Hey guys, Pixel here. Just wanted to let you know, in the event you want to try and start your own podcast, Anchor FM is the way to go. It has the creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It has everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, but many more as well. Ultimately, it is free, so it's no cost to you. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
All right, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys, One Level. I'm your host, Tortuga, accompanied by Pixel.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome indeed. Man, it's kind of been a surprising week in gaming. Well, maybe it shouldn't be too surprising considering the fact that the new consoles just came out. And, not for nothing, I'm surprised it's having the issues that it has been having since launch.
Agreed. And then also, we are approaching the holiday season as well. So I get it. And I also definitely agree with you. Have been seeing a number of issues kind of come in with these consoles, both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy to kind of see what's been happening, right? One of the biggest things that's been in the gaming news the past week are these scalpers. They're just taking up every online order as soon as they hit market, and you get a few people that'll get their hands on, but for the majority of the items are going to these scalpers. Then they're just reselling it on Amazon and eBay, and the prices are just obscene and absurd.
Yeah, on average, I am seeing basically about double with certain scalpers going as far as $1,500 for each of the respective consoles.
Yeah, and it's nuts because it's not just as far as like scalpers getting their hands on the PlayStations. What I've been seeing going on behind the scenes beyond that is that there's like these distributor fees where so and so will hold on to the consoles and then they'll tell their friends about it and then they'll give their friends a cut if they find themselves a person to buy it.
Wow! So we're doing commission on these scalped consoles.
Basically, it's nuts. I mean, it's cool to see like these business things and entrepreneur stuff that you learn about, kind of like being in play. But at the same time, I don't feel like this is the way to do it. They're just trying to make a quick buck on the
hype.
So yeah, well, the supply and demand of what people want with these consoles. Everyone wants them, and there's just so few out there. But it could have been handled a lot better by both Sony and Microsoft and all their distributors, because honestly, if it's been said for the longest time, they just need to make a system where you need to prove you're a human to have an account to purchase the item. It's not difficult to implement. It may cost a little bit of money to maintain, but that process, you put it in place and that'll drive everything down a buttload. A lot of the times what they're doing now to kind of deter away some scalpers is they're selling things in bundles, so that way they can't just sell the PlayStation and then try to return all the other items. They have to return the PlayStation or the Xbox included with the entire bundle, but that's not working at all. All they're doing is just reselling it, all the individual pieces.
Yeah, that's insane. And Microsoft and Sony aren't the only ones suffering from this. We had the same thing happen with NVIDIA and their most recent 30 series cards. So, yep. And, we're not talking about small companies either. We're not talking about a popular Kickstarter or something like that. We're talking about multi-million, potentially close to $1 billion companies here. Exactly. But I know, Microsoft definitely and Sony. But it's just, you would think in this day and age where technology is so rampant, where the bots are just all over the place, that there would be something to be put in place to deter the scalpers and honestly, even the buyers. Because I get though I get the need to want something when it's new, but buying new technology is never the way to go. You should always wait for patches or something to see how it's doing, because you don't want to get burned in the end. You know,
Yep.
we go back, not it's not that long ago if you really think about it. How many how notorious was the Xbox 360 when it came to the red ring of death? You know,
Right.
I mean, Sony had one similar on the PS3, the yellow ring or whatever it was, but it wasn't as rampant. So these things tend to stick in your memory, and that was something that plagued the console for a very long time. Um, but it's just something to take into account, especially considering the plethora of issues that we're having here, right? PS5 has something for you to transfer your PS4 data. There's been issues with that. There's been, automatic shutdown on the Series X. The PS5 boasting its new SSD, people have reported additional problems with transferring the data, that the hard drive is getting corrupt. The Xbox is having trouble with the controllers not pairing, or just disconnecting automatically. PS5 having some connectivity issues. So there should always be some sort of delay before you purchase these things. And again, this is just a personal opinion here, but you never know what the tech is going to come out. Some people will probably purchased their console that they're going to have for the next decade, and those
Right.
people lucked out. But you just never know with new technology.
It's true. I mean, I've been preaching it episode after episode. That's not what you want to do, just like you said. It's I don't know. It sucks because it clearly doesn't matter how many times you say it or how many ways you say it. People are still going to want the shiniest of the shines, and they're going to go for it, right? And being a gamer and a tech enthusiast, at least I like to think of it. I understand the wants and needs of going straight for those, new shinies. I want the PlayStation. I want the Xbox. Like, I would love to play and just test them and see if I can configure them and break them, just because that's what I end up doing with everything that I buy technology wise. I'd like to push it to the extreme, to its limits, just to see what I can do and get away with. But at the same time, it's really not worth, based on how much those things cost, right? I don't want to spend that much dough and then all of a sudden I brick my Xbox, I brick my PlayStation because there's a bug that no one knew about until they did a certain combination. Like, 2 weeks ago, or when the PlayStation came out, playing Spider-Man and letting it go to sleep after playing it, break your PlayStation entirely. That's god awful.
Yeah,
And that's,
especially considering the amount of demand. I mean, is Sony honoring these things that are obviously within warranty? It's only been a month. How soon are you going to get your consoles? You know what I mean?
right, right. It's
Um,
it's it's a pain.
yeah.
Just to think about, it's a pain.
So again, like I get it, and and everyone's to blame here, right? The manufacturers, absolutely. I know they can't account for all the bugs, but I feel like these are certain things that you would think QA would catch. The
Mhm.
scalpers and the people who are purchasing from the scalpers, and of course the early buyers. Just I mean, there have to be casualties, unfortunately, in one way or another, because and you really have to kind of hone in with a microscope here. That's really going to be the only way for them to release potential patches, or review any batches they currently have to go out in the future. But this insane demand, like those people who, I think the day after release, there was like two people, I think they held up a Best Buy for PS5s.
Jeez, it's
Yeah,
not that serious. It's
yeah.
really not that serious.
And I mentioned it to Books, in our group chat, and again, this is just for me personally, but there's literally no games on either console that I think are day one. Um, from the Sony hostages, right? The only one that I really want is going to be the God of War. They really have nothing else that I need right now. The Miles Morales, I'm sure it's a fun game. I'm sure it's fantastic. I have no doubt of that. But I don't need to play that right now.
You're not.
One, it's a standalone. I apologize. It's a standalone DLC. It's already half the content of the main Spider-Man game, and I think they
Yeah,
want like $40 for it or something.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's such a short game. It's a short experience for what they're asking for.
The only one that's kind of alright is if you get, I think the full bundle one. I want to say it's 70, 70 or 80, where you get the full game remastered, all the DLC on the PS5, and you get the Miles Morales one. That's the only decent one. But then if you take a look at all the like actual like versions that they're offering between the PS4 and the PS5, it's actually kind of ridiculous and it makes no sense. Like you really need honestly one of these bigger gurus, game ranks or something to like really break it down because
Hmm.
they're like offering additions, but they're like mix and matching. If you buy one edition, it'll only be for the PS4. There's no PS5 version. But if you buy a certain one, you do get to upgrade to the PS5, and it's just a whole slew of mess, in my opinion. Like either allow it or don't.
Agreed. But I mean, what's the overall message here? Don't buy things as they come out. I mean, people are still going to do it. People are still going to want it. And I kind of want to tie into something you said earlier, where you said people have to be sacrificed because certain bugs are caught later or whatever. I feel like that statement makes sense with PC gaming, but not for consoles because nothing is changing from the warehouse to the household. It's the same exact system. Well, theoretically, should be across the board. Granted, what usually ends up happening is they run out of specific type of hardware and it has to be changed or a different module or version or what have you that's slightly different between like you and I can both buy an Xbox, but there might be a chipset in there that's just different
Right.
modules.
Mm-hmm.
Their purpose is the same, but because it's a completely different version, then it kind of offsets certain bugs that will fall under that module. And that's super annoying. So I guess my gripe is keep it all the same. But I also understand that you can't do that in the manufacturing world.
Why not?
Figure it out.
Yeah, why not? Figure it out. It's 2020. Come on, man.
Yeah.
We had Tupac at a concert a couple years ago. I feel like we can get certain components within a piece of hardware the same. Kind of random but expected news. I don't know if that makes sense, but we have Grand Theft Auto Online and we also have Red Dead Online. But as of Tuesday, Red Dead Online will be launching as a $5 standalone game on these consoles. Right. It'll be at that price until February 15th, 2021, where it will then go up to $20. But if you are only looking for the multiplayer experience, that is something that you can get without worrying about the single player campaign.
That's good to know.
Yeah, they're like changing some stuff to like they have like roles, right? You like traders, moonshiners. Well, they're making some changes to the bounty hunter role, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I like when they do little updates to games that people enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So something that, it's not truly gaming related, but there was a game made in relations to it. So I'm going to count it. So Deadpool 3 officially announced and okayed and greenlighted, ready for recording.
Okay.
But there has been some backlash with, the comic community.
As usual.
And yeah. But not really so much around Deadpool as the character, but more so because the writers that they use for Deadpool 1 and 2 are not writing Deadpool 3. And a lot of people are not okay with that. And I can't remember the director's name who picked up this project, but apparently he is notorious for going against the grain and doing things his own way because if it's done by anyone else a certain way, that's the way he does not want to do it. That's just how his mind works. So if someone is already doing something a specific way, he's automatically not doing that. So because the other two movies were not made by him with these two writers, he's not going to go with them.
Wow.
Kind of confusing considering, Ryan Reynolds still got the leading role. And I don't think anyone else can do Deadpool like Ryan Reynolds. But so what he ended up going with the writers were these two women. I forget their names. I
Bartholomew
believe,
sisters.
yeah, who are most known for like Bob's Burgers and other animated series.
All right. Well, Bob's
That,
Burgers is pretty funny and it has really dry humor, so I'm okay with that so far.
right, but is it Deadpool funny?
It can be. It can be pretty dark sometimes. Like
Sometimes.
right, but it's they have a different audience there, and probably not as much freedom. Like they don't really curse in Bob's Burger because it's on a
Right.
network. So I feel like with a feature film, they'll have more creative freedom with that.
The question is, will they take it? And I feel like that's what a lot of fans are worried about. So, I mean, needless to say, there is going to be a change in writing and a change on the dialogue and monologues and what have you. And let's see how they break the fourth wall. And honestly, one of my favorite lines from Deadpool 2 was, "This is just lazy writing." I use that statement at least once a day because it applies to so many things. It's just funny because a lot of the times it just comes to lazy writing. So it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm on the side of caution for Deadpool 3. I'm definitely gonna watch it once it releases, and hopefully movie theaters are open by then.
Huh? That's very interesting. I I'm gonna give them a shot. It's not like they're just picking up that one random guy with a typewriter at Starbucks. Like they're actually getting someone with some valid credentials here. So we gotta give them a shot. Like this could be way better than the other two. You just never know. Um,
I mean, the other two were freaking great.
the other two were freaking great.
What they did with Domino, oh my, it's just Deadpool 2. I was surprised that it was as good as it was. Usually sequels are crappier, but you just love them because it continues the story. But Deadpool 2 on its own is a great film. And
It
Deadpool
is.
1 I absolutely love.
That is, yeah, no. Going back, we have a little more gratuitous violence for you guys. Earlier this year, Nintendo did release Game and Watch Super Mario Bros. Right, it's just a homage really to the first handheld Game and Watch. But as is with 2020 and this being the trend, someone got Doom to run on the Game and Watch. So we're back here. We are back here. So they took it apart. The video, if I recall, somewhere in 6 to 10 minutes or something. It really goes into like the technical hurdles and dives of everything. But they did get the DOS Doom to run on it, and I thought
That's
that
amazing.
was. Yeah, I can't believe what's that? I think that's like the fourth or fifth thing that people got Doom running on.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to like devise a tracker just to see how far this thing goes.
You know what? We should be. What we should do is compile something where we could put it on the YouTube channel of things people have gotten Doom to run on.
That would be a fun little piece. So if anyone's into video editing, because I am not. So if someone wants to video edit some content, reach out to us. We may have a job for you.
Absolutely.
One thing that I found interesting, it's so stupid. I don't even want to talk about it, but we'd have to because it's gaming news related, right?
Yep.
A gentleman by the name of Eric Estavillo from California, I believe, sued Twitch a few years back. He sued Twitch for $25 million. Let's start there. And his reasoning for suing Twitch was because he felt that Twitch's recommended streamer algorithm was too sexualized as a whole. So
To which gender?
to females.
Okay.
Him being a male, he felt that Twitch kept recommending too many females that were like sexually attractive, and then forcing him to have these like X-rated thoughts. And he was blaming Twitch as the root cause and reason for these rampant images that he would just fantasize about. And he hired a lawyer, a full attorney. Apparently, someone agreed to that and thought that was a good idea and pushed it to Twitch. So this lawsuit recently was denied by a judge. Said you have absolutely no evidence, no standing, no ground whatsoever. Like it's stupid. But there were some pretty high ranked female streamers on there. Pokimane, of course, right?
Mhm.
I think she holds the number one female streamer. I can't pronounce this, but Almaraz.
Okay.
Sure, we'll go with that. Another top ranked streamer. Names are not my forte. I should write them down, but I believe her name's like Aquino, or the chick who is dating Ninja.
Isn't that just his wife, Jessica?
Sure, but her streamer name.
Oh, I did not know she did. Okay, today I learned.
But it was as a whole big list of names of female streamers that he put on there. So that's nothing. That is something that's stupid. It's clearly not Twitch's fault that you fantasize about women and that they recommend women streamers. But here's what I found the most comical of all about this whole thing. After the defense attorneys on Twitch did further research and investigation on Eric's Estivillo's Twitch account, turns out he followed, at the time of the lawsuit being filed, he followed 786 women and 0 males.
So on his own, on his account, he followed them manually.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, you don't have to be a tech genius to figure out why Twitch was recommending nothing but women on your Twitch feed when you almost have 1,000 female streamers that you follow and absolutely no males. Twitch is going to say, this guy only wants female recommendations.
Yeah, that's pretty much the basics of supply and demand. He wants women. Let's give him women.
Yeah. So I could not believe someone went that far to sue a corporation for something they were doing to themselves.
Man, don't get me started, bro. Don't even get me started. We're gonna have to. You know what? I think for next week we're gonna have to take a minute or so and just see if we can find frivolous gaming lawsuits.
I'm sure there's a handful.
Agreed.
Speaking of frivolous gaming lawsuits, Nintendo, under the gun again, always about shooting down content. Remember last week when I spoke about the
tournament,
and they were using third-rated software to do it?
Yeah, the popular one.
Yeah, I didn't realize the community gave Nintendo so much crap for it, and the reason being, they felt that they should not punish this tournament for a game that's not even being sold anymore. I forgot to. I didn't even catch that at the moment. Melee is a 19, almost 20-year-old game.
Yeah, it was on the GameCube, so 2002 or 3 or something.
Yeah, so it's not even in production anymore, and people felt that they need to, let loose on those reins a little bit. But on a company side, you don't want to do that because then you'll set a precedent that you'll have to maintain in the future. So they want to avoid that. So Nintendo always nips it in the bud as soon as they can to set that, to not set that precedent. So someone in a future day can say, well, 15 years ago you allowed XYZ, so now you should allow this under these circumstances. So they don't want that.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that because what about that one guy? I don't know exactly what. It's been so long. I remember the first time I saw it was like a very long time ago. But that guy who's basically creating Ocarina of Time in Unreal Engine.
I don't think Nintendo was okay with that either. Like, they don't want any of their IPs out there. I believe they had to work on a agreement with Google or Alphabet to even allow their video games to be shown on YouTube. So when you use Mario Maker or when you do speed runs or whatever and you upload it to YouTube, I believe they worked out a deal with Google / Alphabet for them to get a percentage of the ad revenues that they get on those episodes.
I mean, that's smart, but yeah, it's true. I do. I agree. I mean, if I'm I keep forgetting my years here, but I want to say Melee was 2001. We are talking the GameCube, so we are creeping up on. You're right, yeah, 19, 20 years. How? I guess why? Like this is doing nothing but gaining them favor having these tournaments. At the very least, any ad revenue from these tournaments or prize money, maybe you should go to like Nintendo. Like I guess I don't see what the big deal is.
Well, I mean, a cease and desist is just a stop immediately. If something happens after the fact and they work out a deal, that's still on the table. But they put the cease and desist to the tournament because it was not okayed by Nintendo in a method that was approved by them. So any future things that can still come out of that is yet to have been determined. But
I just
like I
saw.
said earlier,
So it's
yeah,
really just like this one tournament that they were like, "Hey, don't." And to be fair, again, like I get it, Nintendo is kind of being the bad guy here, but they were warned beforehand before this was officially kind of stamped there.
it's true. They were, but it's not that they had an issue with the tournament. It's that they had an issue using a third party software to run the tournament. That is
Right.
not vetted and approved by Nintendo. That was the overall thing that they were not okay with.
I guess I don't know. I just let people enjoy things.
Yeah, but you got to think about other companies like long term. They just don't want to set that precedent now. And I forgot who it was, but there was a PR guy from Nintendo said, "We don't want to do this. Like, we love the fact that you guys are playing a 20-year-old game. Like, this is things that we want from our community, but we can't allow it because we can't predict the future. We don't know what doors this will open later on that'll bite us in the ass in the future. So we just can't take that risk, and that's the reason that they're so hard on all these Nintendo things.
But even off the top of my head, worst case scenario, thinking of current games or even games that they have announced, like how would this bite them in the future? I
Who
can't.
knows?
I need someone
Someone
much more creative than I to think about
Yeah,
this.
someone smarter than us will figure out a way to kind of use that against Nintendo or a corporation.
Like the only thing
And
I can think of is if they have, Super Smash Brothers, Ultimate Square, Zeta, Boombox, 10 years from now, and if someone's maybe using that while the game is active to run these tournaments on their still horrible Nintendo servers in the future, maybe that's something that if someone's entering the tournament using another third party software that hey, yeah, I'm using this software, but you can't ban me from the tournament because it was used in another tournament that was sponsored or okayed by Nintendo. So I guess I could see that for prize
yeah,
money. They'll have like less latency or something like that, and they can potentially give these someone in a multiplayer game the edge, which is obviously the only edge really should be your own skill.
packs. I mean, I could think of a few more, but I really don't want to dive into it too much. But just letting another third party software like use your game, use your IP, and not pay you, you're setting a precedent on that front. Also, imagine other software companies that currently don't exist being designed to then use Nintendo's IPs because this company did not get punished.
You know what? And it also brings up another good point. Like you using these third party software, you never know what they're putting in their terms and conditions.
True. Yeah.
So
So I understand Nintendo's reasoning for nipping it in the butt. So I'm on Nintendo's side on this. Yeah, it sucks that we won't get this year's tournaments, but this year has sucked overall, and there's only
facts.
one culprit. Yeah, there's only one culprit to really blame for anything bad that has happened in 2020.
I don't know if we're thinking about the same thing, but okay. All right. So a little Baldur's Gate news for you guys. Tortuga and I actually got to play for a little bit. When was it? A couple days ago? Last weekend? I don't remember now. I feel like it.
Yesterday?
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, it was
Yikes.
yesterday morning.
Felt like 2 weeks ago. All right. But there is a new patch that is coming out. Did you read anything on that? I'm sure you did.
I did.
Now, this patch is going to break any current saves that you guys may have. There's kind of a good news, bad news thing here. good news is that Larian Studios is setting up an option within the game options at the beginning where they're essentially opening up an alternate branch for those who want to continue their current playthrough. But the next patch, which does provide, according to Larian, some major updates. It is coming out soon. It is going to make changes to the actual story. So any current saves will not work with patch number 3, I believe it is.
Yeah, patch 3. I'm actually super excited because, I actually reached the quote unquote end game content for the beta. And my experience so far with Baldur's Gate 3 has been nothing but enjoyable. I love everything about it except for the way the spells work for casters. And I mean, me and you had this conversation. I personally can't figure out a system that mechanically works, but it's just something that I'm gonna have to get used to. And just to bring everyone listening in on what I'm talking about, if you have played Boulder, I keep saying Beyond. There's something Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah, it's beyond your imagination or beyond your reach. I like that one. Beyond your grasp. I like that one better.
Moving on. Oh, so Baldur's Gate 3. What was I talking about? The
patch 3.
The spells. Yeah, my gripe with the spells, yeah.
Oh.
So with Baldur's Gate 3, when you have a caster, or if you play D&D, let's start there. For my people that play D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, as a caster, you have access to first level spells up to ninth level spells, respectively. And certain spells, let's say at first level, can do a certain thing, and sometimes the spell can even be upcasted to even higher level to do an even more powerful thing. Let me give you an example. I believe Charm Person is a first level spell. And if I'm wrong, so be it. I don't care. I don't get to play too much. I'm mostly DM. So Charm Person, let's say, is a first level spell. And it works by you charming a person, right? Super simple. Yep. When you upcast a spell, you can then start adding additional persons that you can charm. So second level casting, you can now do up to 2. Third level, you can do up to 3. Fourth, so on and so forth, all the way up to 9. So upcasting is a core mechanic in D&D that empowers spells. Cool. Baseline set. Now, my problem with Baldur's Gate 3, and I don't know if 1 and 2 did this the same way or in a different way because I didn't play them, but in 3, what happens when you have spells and you have levels that can be upcasted for those certain spells, in your toolbar that you can set, you have to add in the toolbar the first level of that spell, the second level of the spell, third, so on and so all the way up to 9 in your toolbar. You can theoretically open up your spell book and then pull it down, but if you wanted to have quick access to it, you have to add all the variations that you would potentially want to upcast. And that's just something that I'm just not okay with. It feels super clunky. It gets super messy to keep, to have your spells, because I think at max you can have a total of 16 or 18 spells in your quick access tabs. And then you can fill that up super quick. If you have 4 spells that can be upcasted up to 4 5th level, you automatically just filled up your entire spell list if you did that. And I personally just like to have that in my visual to know that I have spells that I can upcast. And I don't know. That's my gripe with the only gripe with the game. But as far as story wise and the game as a whole, it's quite enjoyable.
It's funny you mentioned that. I know I brought it up when we were actually playing that. It was actually one of the biggest gripes I had with the Budokai Tenkaichi games, where unlike Budokai 3, 10-10 game, that you would pick the base character and you had the option to essentially transform into them during the match. Whatever, let's take Goku, right? You went from Goku to Kaioken all the way to Super Saiyan 4. And in Tenkaichi, you essentially had to either pick any of those additions with that moveset. Personally, what I think would be great is, think about the functionality the scroll wheel has. I think if you were to click on the spell and then scroll up to whatever level spell that you would want, And then when you click on the character to actually cast it, that's the one that it would use, and it would use that spell slot. Larian, you're welcome.
Honestly, that would be beautiful. That would be such an amazing way. Like you click the spell, and like you say, even if it doesn't show you the options, the mechanic of scrolling, because it'll tell you that it's a first level spell in the little block, and if you scroll it, you can change it. I love that idea. You're a genius.
Oh, stop it, you. I actually kind of proud. I definitely just thought about that like right now as you were talking.
No, that honestly, dude, that would solve that gripe that I have with that game. And I think it just makes it cleaner just to not have different versions of the same spell just because it's up. I don't know. I don't know if it's like my gamer OCD or what, but I don't like it.
I hear you. Oh, actually, one of my biggest gripes is actually the camera, where you got to click the scroll wheel and then turn. I hate that so much.
I hate it too. I had to make a hotkey for one of my mouse buttons to replace the click of the mouse wheel. It makes it easier for me to use.
I got a couple minor things here. So we got 2 delays. Watch Dogs Legion's multiplayer has been delayed into 2021. And they're still apparently combating manual saves and certain bug fixes as well. And Cuphead had some DLC, The Delicious Last Course. God, I love and hate that game so much. But that was a DLC that was actually supposed to come out in like third quarter 2018, if I remember right. I'm sorry, no, I apologize. It was announced sometime then. It was supposed to come out sometime in 2019. Then it was delayed into 2020, and it's currently delayed again. And this time looks like it was mainly due to COVID and that transition. There's a lot of gameplay out there and people talking about Cyberpunk 2077. You guys know I had to do something to throw it in here one time. One of the big things that apparently CD Projekt did release its third quarter financial results, and there's 2 things that I think that I read that. Wow, where's my brain today? 2 big things here, right? The first one is The Witcher 3 is still making them money.
Amazing.
Yeah, this game's like 5 years old now. But even in just this quarter alone, Witcher 3 got them $28 million from people buying the game. And like,
seriously?
Yeah.
And people like you who buy the game more than once.
You know what? I've bought it twice. Don't talk to me like that. First time I did buy it at launch on my OG Xbox, my VCR. And Danny, thanks for that as well. And then a couple weeks ago, I saw they were having one of their deals and on GOG, and I actually did purchase it directly. The complete edition for like, I don't know, what was it, like $13-15, something like that. And the second important thing from that financial disclosure was that they did confirm with their investors, not just the public, that Cyberpunk 2077 is still scheduled to arrive on December 10th, which at the time of this recording is about 11 days away.
We'll see. That's all I'm going to say.
We will see, because as you guys know, for all our listeners, I have been very hyped for this game. And with the last delay, I've actually really brought down a couple notches on here. So as someone who has been following this game since about 2013 or so, I am very hesitant. I've been burned too many times. I'm not ready. Because, as close as, October 26th, when they reached out to someone, someone asked them, hey, I'm about to schedule my non-refundable time off for the release of this game. Can I take these games off? The PR team told them, full confirmation, the game is launching November 19th. And literally the morning after, they replied, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was the best "this you" I've ever seen on Twitter.
I don't know, man. I've seen some really good ones. So
There are some good ones out there. "This you" is probably my favorite Twitter meme.
this you is definitely one of my favorite Twitter memes. Absolutely. Um, that was such a sad one. You know, also, guys, keep an eye out. We did just have Black Friday here in the United States, but we are approaching Cyber Monday, so they'll probably find a lot of deals. Um,
In fact, Black Friday is not just a U.S. thing.
really?
Yeah.
Today I learned.
Yeah. I also learned this year that the reason it's called Black Friday is because it's like I guess a business term where companies use this as an opportunity for their profits to hit the black, which is
Right.
good in business, whereas red is bad. So Black Friday, that's where the name comes from. I never knew that.
I just learned. So, and again, I know we had this kind of small segment with Cyberpunk releasing on December 10th. It has forced yet another game to be delayed. Mech Warrior 5, the Steam release, is being pushed on to next year.
I mean, it just says, the presence that Cyberpunk has in the gaming industry, right? It is
Yeah.
literally it's the most anticipated game, I want to say, of all time. I have never seen so much hype for a game ramp up like to this point. Clearly, there's been other games like Grand Theft Auto 5, The Division, Halo 3, the Halo series when they were good. But I feel now that the gaming industry as a whole is reaching 2.5 billion people. Like, this is just, the numbers are just increasing every time a new exciting game is coming out.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I mean, honestly, you think, well, I think Cyberpunk does have the potential to be the game of the decade, just with everything that they're talking about here from this aspect. If I go back into recent history on games that have really defined an era, I would have to go back to I want to say it was 2004, 2005, where the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, followed by 2011's Skyrim for that decade, and I think with 2020, and I know it's early, we still have a little decade for another company to kind of match this, but I think as at the moment, with everything I read in the world of Cyberpunk, the lore, the gameplay that we have seen, and the potential branches and time played in here, I think Cyberpunk 2077 does have the capability to be labeled as the game of the decade.
Sure. I mean, I feel like Cyberpunk is just a cyberpunk version of Fallout, pre-Fallout. And I mean, you're not going to change my mind. That's just the way it looks to be. First person shooter, you pick up guns, you have, bullet sponges, you take them out, continue on the story. It branches off, you build your own story, your own site. It's literally the same design as Fallout, just in a cyberpunk realm.
I mean, you're not wrong. Absolutely not. But I mean, so is Skyrim or the
Right,
Elder
but
Scrolls.
that's magic and swords versus this is guns and like I guess some weapons, some handheld weapons.
Well, but from that aspect, then you could say this is guns and technology because
Yeah,
Fallout doesn't really have that like tech like that. Well, Fallout 4 kind of does, but
yeah. Oh, that's one that I played, and it definitely does.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling that analogy.
It's the same game. It's just a different flavor.
All right, books.
It's the same game. You can't deny it. The only thing that this has that Fallout doesn't is vehicles. That's honestly it.
I guess. One more piece of cyberpunk news with Debbie Downer over here. Apparently, there is there's all
All
right.
right.
Ooh. someone has already made a porn parody of Cyberpunk 2077.
Rule 34 strikes again.
Rule 34 leaves no survivors.
It's true. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Rule 34 has a Rule 34.
I think that's one of the rules, like, against Rule 34, though. Because, guys, it's been a while since Rule 34 was, if it exists, there is porn of it, and if there isn't, there will be.
Yes.
for those listening right now. So that's Cyberpunk 27. Someone already made a porn parody. So there we have it.
Wow. So I have a little fluff news that I thought was comical in the realm of Shadowlands. Oh my gosh, Shadowlands is so good. You saw how I set up my own segue?
Yeah.
Shadowlands it's actually in a very, very good expansion. I will admit I'm a little tired of questing at this point. I've been playing on and off for a week since release. Not to mention all the bugs that came with launch day. But I've been, enjoying the story, and I've been doing dungeons, and I've hit max level, but I still have to continue some more of the story before I'm done with the entrance to Shadowlands, as it were. But it's been good, but it's just exhausting to have to put in so many hours. And I want to say, people hit max level within 24 hours of the game coming out.
Well, didn't that guy speedrun it in like 3 hours? Didn't we say that a couple episodes ago?
He went from level 10 to level 50 in like 3 hours.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
But the final 50 to 60, I believe you can do it in 10 if you knew where everything was. Where apparently some streamers knew where everything was. I don't know exactly how they knew how to do every quest before they got to it. I found that kind of interesting that they would basically tell the stream what was about to happen and what the mechanics were for the quests, and they would work as a party of 3 or 4 and split up, like receiving items or killing enemies and slaying whatever they had to. They would just split up the responsibilities before they got to the quest, and I'm like, how do you know what's coming up? Like I don't know if they were on Wowhead and Wowhead had all that info to the public already. Maybe it's possible, but I just want to throw that in there real quick. But the fluff piece regarding Shadowlands, a guy who was pulled over for speeding in California. California has all these, amazing stories.
California is Florida man's cousin,
bruh. It's so he was speeding. He got pulled over for speeding. Cop pulls him over, says, you were speeding. You know how fast you were going. Like, where are you going? This, that, or the other. And the guy basically said, I'm on my way home from work to play Shadowlands, and the cop let him go.
Bruh.
That's amazing.
All right. Actually, yeah, I really said that. Okay. Apparently expected, but with the release of Shadowlands, I guess players on the more popular servers have been experiencing queues of several hours, and that's just to log in the server, not even like dungeon queuing or anything. And when they are able to get into the game, there have been many posts on disconnections and incredible amounts of lag. The community manager has acknowledged this, and one of the things that they've done is actually increase the realm capacity to let more players than ever before into a single realm. But I guess the demand is so high on certain realms that it's even exceeded that particular capacity. So it looks like this has brought new players and old players really back into it. And it seems that the level squish is actually what's really bringing people back.
Yeah. I told you off podcast many times that the grind to 120. And honestly, you said it yourself. Like you want to play WoW, but you don't want to go all the way up to 120 because that's a lot of leveling, and it did take a long time, to get through. And the level squish is amazing. They figured out a formula, to make it feel smooth. It didn't feel too much of a grind from to go from 1 to 60. And I think that's a great thing to do because one of the things that I mentioned before, having new players coming to World of Warcraft for the first time and seeing such a large level that was 120 in the previous expansion is extremely daunting. Like no one wants to put in that much work. You don't want to buy a game and then pay monthly for a game that is going to take you a long time to even reach a point where you can start enjoying the end game content.
Right. I
No one
mean,
really wants to do that.
what
It's
you basically jump in there for rating, you know?
essentially, or there's a lot of people that do battlegrounds and PvP stuff, twos and threes. I guess they're called arenas, but it's at the same they still go into the same thing. You can't get to that point. You can do battlegrounds as you level up, but you can't get to the 2v2, 3v3, to like the exciting ranking part until you are max level.
Right.
And then you can't get the good gear, the shiny stuff until you reach max level and start ranking in those systems. Same thing with PvE, with dungeons and ratings. You can't you can't even enter until you're max level for the raids. I want to say that's true. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like that's true. So it's just, I think they did the right thing. And they even said that Shadowlands is their most profitable expansion to date. And that's including all the refunds that they gave out for missing the previous expansion release date.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, you think about, World of Warcraft launch to date on how much money they've made. So for them to claim that, this is their most profitable expansion, even from the Burning Crusade, which I would think would be the most because it was their first, it was their first
Mhm.
expansion. So yeah, it's very very interesting to hear, especially considering that they the big changes they've done, especially with the level squish.
Yeah. It's obviously not perfect, right? There are some situations where it's not as balanced as people would like it to be, but I mean, the game is great. Once you get to 60, it starts to balance itself out anyways. Between 50 and 60, who cares? Do what you have to do to get to 60 and it'll balance itself out with the item levels and the content then. I just hit 60. I'm still not item leveled enough to even do LFRs. I can't wait to get to that. I'm super far behind on my main character because I started at like the last 2 months of BFA. But it's been enjoyable. I've been loving every moment of it. Good job, Blizzard.
Speaking of good job here, looks like Bethesda also kind of is also kind of, wow, where's my brain today? Bethesda also has an expansion that they came out with. So we were talking about the Brotherhood of Steel coming into Fallout 76.
Mhm.
That was set to come out on Tuesday, but it is currently available. Looks like they actually released the expansion earlier than they had announced, which
Oh,
is
that's nice.
it's pleasant news considering of all the delays we've been hearing.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
Square Enix has is currently working. If it hasn't been finalized as of yet, that they are going to allow their employees to work remotely permanently.
Huh.
Yep,
You know,
and they're ready to like pull the plug if I remember right.
it's great. I think it's great as long as they set up, a good remote infrastructure. And honestly, that's not surprising. A lot of companies have said, due to COVID forcing people to work from home, a lot of companies are going to open up a remote work kind of like section of their companies, and they may continue to do some in office things, but so far things are still going strong for like office stuff. Clearly, mom and pop shops are struggling. These are corporations that manage to set up an infrastructure, and it's these corporations that are basically making up these plans to continue remote work because that's less infrastructure, less real estate that they have to pay.
No, it's true. I mean, even my company, it has made this transition virtually seamless. They had us ready to go in like a month. I mean, I have my own gripes with that, personally, but it's true. The way that people are maintaining and still able to offer this. I get told all the time that my company was one of the best ones to work with because of how seamless the transition was.
It's funny because I work in the IT realm, and I have a couple buddies that I keep up with who also work in IT. And one of the things that we noticed that we got a lot of complaints about was a lot of people would say, it's interesting that we didn't have the budget to upgrade any of our stuff, but as soon as we went remote, we had the money to just spend and upgrade everyone's everything.
Yep. That's basically where I'm falling right now. There have been I never wanted this. I work much better in the office, but I know a lot of people who essentially had to find other jobs just months before this transition. Um, and because asking to work remote was apparently so expensive to do, and it was so hard to get everything ready. They got us ready in like 3 weeks. The entire building, well, the entire company
Yeah.
in like 3 weeks. I'm sure IT wasn't happy, but they got us rocking and rolling.
Oh yeah, the setup was insane for my company that I work for. It was a challenge to say the least.
Yeah, so I don't know, just a couple gripes with that, honestly. But that's just personal on my end. We do have the uh, Humble Bundle. With these deals, they're actually offering a year subscription to Humble Bundle for $99. Breaks out to just under $9 a month, if I'm not mistaken. And if you're unaware of Humble Bundle, you essentially get a couple games of your choosing, for kind of like that subscription based, and the games are yours to keep.
That's pretty cool. I have my final thing that I have for this week. Nothing big, nothing major, but for League of Legends people, Riot did confirm that the next character coming out, Rel, will be the last champion released in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did we talk
just
about
wanted
her?
to touch on.
Did we talk about that one? I don't think
No,
we
we talk
did.
about Sarah, Seraphine.
Yeah.
Rel's a new one. I haven't checked the moveset, but apparently this is a support character that's coming out that's going to focus heavily on crown control abilities. So probably going to be super broken. I haven't touched the game in over 2 months. Now that the season has been over for a while, I'll probably wait until preseason kicks off with all the new stuff that they're going to bring in for 2021, and then I'll try the new content to see what they do. Apparently, a lot of the stuff that they changed for higher tier in 2021 that's going to come out is there won't be any more duo queue for high ranked players.
Solo queue only.
It's solo queue only. Yeah, you can't queue up with a partner anymore because apparently that was like a big complaint in the higher tiered gameplay that people felt that was an unfair advantage, which is true because they would be on comms and are able to coordinate attacks and what have you. Whereas, and if the other team doesn't have that advantage with two people playing together, then you're at a massive advantage in League of Legends, and any advantage that you can get a hold of will steamroll you into victory. And so a lot of people felt cheated that they couldn't reach where the high ranks, the top 200, where they normally could. But for some reason this season, they weren't unable to attain that. And they feel that having people do a queue is a big cause to that. Another issue that I personally have, and I've never been in the top 200, but I have an issue with when people do make the top 200, which is the challenger tier, by the way, the highest ranking that you can get in League of Legends, is that people will get multiple accounts in the top 200. So, there's 200 positions, but it's not 200 people that are holding those ranks. It'll probably be closer to like 150 people. I don't know. I've always that always left like a bad taste in my mouth because it's kind of dumb to do that. Like you benefit nothing from preventing an actual 200 count in there. So I personally feel like there should be an IP ban to the challenger listing.
So I agree, especially, and I'll kind of related, kind of not related, especially, taking into account someone like you who always wants the name Tortuga for your social media and it's never available. And a lot of the times it's just someone who has a name and have been in for how long? Like, what about that Xbox one? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Xbox One. Hopefully, this person does not listen to our podcast. I think they have to be inactive for 5 years or something like that. I don't. Xbox has a long, long wait list. And I don't know if you remember about 2 years ago where Microsoft released unused names to be recollected or reused. That you were able to switch over to like these easier names and potentially could have cut off like the X's, the underscores. I don't think you use underscores on Xbox, but the numbers. But yeah, League of Legends and Xbox and Twitter, what have you. I can't ever get Tortuga. Apparently, that is a popular like name, that namespace that people go after. They don't even know what for. It's not even like anything cool about it. There's the Pirates of the Caribbean. I think there's an island with that name, and it's just a Spanish word for the word turtle. So we might have just that many turtle fans in the world. Um, Speaking about around the world, Microsoft Flight Simulator that I suck at released a really big update for like US hotspots, I guess you can say, or 50 points of interest is what they said.
Okay.
Where they just put in a lot more detail in those areas. So when you fly over them, you can see a lot more than you could have before. And some of the things that they kind of revamped were like the White House, Fort Knox, Hoover Dam, and the Las Vegas strips, just to name a few. But yeah, they revamped about 50 points of interest in the United States.
That's pretty cool. The last rapid fire thing I have is that Nintendo, and probably Bethesda as well, they're actually reversing their initial stance on Doom Eternal. It is still coming out on the Nintendo Switch, but they are not doing a physical release. So it would be a digital release only. And I know we mentioned Game Pass here a couple times and what Sony is going to kind of do. We have Game Pass on the Xbox, we have it on the PC. Recently implementing with EA Play on the console, and in a couple days, the EA Play will be added to the PC Game Pass. But apparently, Sony was approached about a similar service that was not met with positive reviews. Looks like earlier this year, Sony's CEO, Jim Ryan, made note that there wouldn't be a service which would deliver first-party video game titles on a subscription basis, and that their reasoning was that these games cost millions to develop, and they didn't foresee a subscription service to be sustainable, which is very interesting because oh wow! I completely am mixing up names here. I apologize. Microsoft CEO, he actually just came out and said and gave his reasoning why Game Pass is successful and profitable. Phil Spencer, I can't believe I said that, but that Game Pass is actually profitable for them, even with these first party titles included on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no way that was correct because their entire focus is on the Game Pass now.
Yeah, so
Game Pass and XCloud was going to drive Xbox as a whole, to the sky. It's just that combination is you're not going to be able to beat it. Once they get those first party games, those AAA, quadruple A games on the XCloud, and it works the way as advertised, as in no delay between input and cloud, dude. That's it. Physical games will be done, completely done, once they figure out that formula.
I believe so. And then one last thing, there is a rumor that there are 2 additional Halo games being developed apart from Infinite.
I really hope they fix the graphics that they used for that pre alpha, because I've watched I've watched over and over the side by side between The Last of Us 2 and the rendering with they used for the Infinite pre alpha footage.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was a bad call.
And I don't know. I'm worried about Infinite. As someone who has played all the Halos, I'm still. I mean, 5 is kind of collecting dust because I haven't really touched my Xbox in a long time. But I have played all the Halos that have come out, even the less acclaimed Halo 3 ODST, and this one has me skeptical. Like, do I want this Halo day one? And that's coming from someone who I would call myself a fan.
Well, Halo Infinite should come automatic with Game Pass, so you're good.
That's true. I kind of hope that one of the hidden rumored ones here is Halo Wars 3. Just because I enjoy me a little RTS, and I've played some Halo Wars 2. It was much fun, but I kind of want to see what they can do graphically and with some gameplay mechanics on here.
That'd be nice. I try to keep up with the RTS stuff because I know you enjoy it, and it'd be fun to beat you finally on that, but that's not in my cards.
I'm pretty sure you have beaten me.
No, not once in any RTS.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, yeah, that's gonna be it for me.
Yeah, that for me too. So, gonna go ahead and close out. Definitely want to remind everyone who has not taken part in our giveaway. We are giving away Cyberpunk 2077. The winner will be able to choose which platform they would like the game. The polling will be done the day before the game comes out. So once the game is out, we'll be able to give that to you to enjoy. So definitely check our links for the giveaway. It's on our Twitter. It should be in our descriptions. I'll double check. And if it's not, I will add it to the descriptions. Join. Best of luck. And definitely, if you have joined and entered before, remember you can join once a day for an additional entry to up your chances of winning. So you do have that at your fingertips, should you choose. Definitely want to thank all you guys and girls and non-binary for hanging out with us for another week.
Yeah, everyone, thank you so much for listening in on another episode. As always, we love to just discuss everything about gaming and have you guys listen. Thanks for giving us an additional reason to talk about video games. And as always, I'm Pixel.
And I'm Tortuga.
And remember, gamers lead the way.